Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and North Korea performs one of the most impressive hacks the world has ever seen. A hack so impressive that they've allegedly stolen 1.5 billion US dollars. So again, ladies and gentlemen, to kind of start off with what we're going here, obviously North Korea is not a small, jokey country. I have a real interest in North Korea. Throughout my history, I've covered things like their video games, their operating systems. I've even ran some of their most derelict, dangerous pieces of malware on my precious virtual machines, all for the sake of internet entertainment. But today, we're talking about a hack that literally is part of one of the largest heists that I've ever seen. So for anybody that doesn't know, there's a company known as Bybit, okay? Now, Bybit is an exchange, first and foremost, and on this website, it literally is just a place where you can get into cryptocurrency, you can swap currencies around, and of course, it's got tons of things like crypto loans. In fact, if you're somebody who has a religious background, you may be able to get religious benefits, all right, or religious compliant accounts. It's got basically everything a bank could imagine. Institutional services, referral programs, even a VIP program. It's got markets, it's got trading, it's got futures, it's got options, anything a growing Wall Street adjacent gambler needs in today's society. But all jokes aside, this is probably people's first foray into cryptocurrency, getting onto an exchange, swapping fiat currency for cryptocurrency stuff as well. And these people have suffered a $1.5 billion draining of their actual Ethereum wallet by what is suspected to be North Korea. So before we get into it, I want to just address how this actually happened and how people can prove that it's North Korea. So you may recognize a name known as ZachXBT. ZachXBT is a friend of the channel and a good crypto investigator, somebody who is kind of like the Batman in the sphere, somebody who shows up to basically prove things can be not as kosher as they seem. So generally in this case, what it appeared to be was Zach produced evidence of a wallet, OX33D0, being what appears to be an overlap address between two actual hacks that have happened, the Bybit exploit and the Femix exploit. For those of you who don't know what Femix is a Singaporean crypto exchange as well that had around $70 million drained. And that $70 million, when people started to look very carefully at it, led people to assume that the actual people behind that hack were North Koreans. So the way the Femix hack is linked to North Korea is basically the systemic way, the modus operandi, the MO basically of the hack. Basically where they swapped assets, in a way across multiple chains and moved money around, which basically led it to believe that it was actually North Korea doing it because the systemic way the hack was done falls in line with the Lazarus Group. So based on Halburn, who provided a good summary of this as well too, they said the Femix hack is likely another example of a CEX that held assets in insecure hot wallets. So ideally, these accounts should be protected by multi-signature wallets, and one wallet shouldn't be compromised, shouldn't impact the security of the others. And that's true. The fact that not one, but two, but 16 accounts were impacted indicates that something actually seriously went wrong in the situation. And that is quite possibly the most understated thing that I've ever seen. Obviously, something did go real wrong. And what do we do from here? So for instance, OX33D057 is the wallet that people are watching. So if you look real carefully at this, you can see that honestly looking at every single transaction, basically the last transactions of this being 96 days ago, you can see that yes, it gets money in, puts it into stable coins, and of course the further and further you get up to more recent times, as of literally less than 24 hours ago, you've got the Bybit exploiter address sending money into this account. This one particular transaction we're looking at is 78 Ethereum, which again, if you look at how much 78 Ethereum is, that's $217,000 being moved right there. And of course, the further you go up this chain, the more you can see, like 119 Ethereum, 45 Ethereum. So if we go to the Bybit exploiter's address, this one is tagged on every Etherscan platform, every crypto analysis platform, as a dangerous wallet, as a wallet to be watched for. So you can actually see right over here, the money was drained from the exploiter to the tune of 5,000 Ethereum sent to this wallet, and immediately this wallet starts sending out to other addresses as the hack is being done, as this account is effectively being drained. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where, again, I should probably make merch for this because, ladies and gentlemen, men lie, women lie, The blockchain doesn't lie. The best part about this technology is it being so transparently open that now the mere act of laundering it has eyes on it. But we'll get to that towards the end of the video. Now again, if you like that kind of crypto analysis too, I like to cover it. Zach did a really good job, so I want to shout him out again. Check him out, ladies and gentlemen. ZachXBT over on Twitter, X, whatever people want to call it. But for me, that's not the focal point of the video. I want to look at how this crypto exchange actually got hacked. Like, what happened? So for anybody that doesn't know, I made a video on Lazarus Group probably around 3 years ago going over their history. And they're, by the way, one of North Korea's largest hacking groups out there. In fact, going on the OFAC, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Control, they go by multiple names, right? The OFAC has pointed out a bunch of their actual crypto wallet addresses, first off. So if you want to see just what Lazarus Group's verified wallet addresses are, the government has them for you. In fact, even down over here, they've come up with different names. So they've got Hidden Cobra, Office 91, Guardians of Peace, the new romantic cyber army team, Who is Hacking Team, Red Dot, Temp Hermit, Group 77, Zinc, AptC 26, and Appleworm. So yeah, wild names. And of course, when you look up their actual area, they're in the Potongang district of Pyongyang. A closer satellite view of this area leads you to this location. Obviously, I can't street view it because this is in good old-fashioned North Korea. The closest thing I can show you is the Potong River right here. And of course, this is a absolutely nice part of town, ladies and gentlemen. There are other locations like Chagwang Street, which again is where the infamous mansions of North Korea's finest elite currently reside. So nice area, again, totally unstreet viewable, but it also possesses a name known as Bureau 39. And for those of you who don't know what Bureau 39 is, Bureau 39 is also referred to as Division 39, Office 39, or the Central Committee Bureau 39 of the Workers' Party of Korea. And their effective job is an organization committing illegal actions to the tune of generating $500 million to $1 billion a year and potentially more by engaging in illegal activities such as counterfeiting US currency, for instance, producing controlled drugs like methamphetamine, okay, so literally Walter White's drug empire, but moved over to North Korea. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the most dangerous of all, international insurance fraud. Yeah, you know the insurance companies keep bending us over and the rates keep going up? Well, some of these scumbags have to do with it. But again, I'm not here to pit fights between insurance companies and North Korea. To me, they're both one and the same, purely evil. At least their regime, sorry. The North Korean, the people are great. They're absolutely amazing. The regime, however, very, very evil. So of course, the more you look into it, obviously there's other banks and associations basically related to them, such as banks, for instance, being subordinate to the financial wings of Office 39. And obviously, the Lazarus Group actually has a play in that. The Lazarus Group serves as North Korea's elite cyber warfare team. So one hack that I'll show you is, if you don't remember a while back, this image was floating around, hacked by GOP, which, if we look back at the OFAC list, the Guardians of Peace. Warning, we have already warned you. This is just a beginning. We continue till our requests be met. We obtained all your internal data, including your secrets and top secrets. If you don't obey us, we'll release data shown below to the world. And of course, they provide numerous data links right over here. And of course, for anybody that doesn't know what this is the Sony Pictures Entertainment hack. Now, why would North Korea have beef with Sony Pictures? Well, a lot of it was apparently retribution because of Sony Pictures producing the Interview movie with James Franco and Seth Rogen, where they were making fun of Kim Jong-un. Obviously, they didn't take too kindly for it, and obviously a state-backed hacking group would obviously be the cyber warfare arm needed. Now, since then, North Korea's kind of been on a tear with actual cryptocurrency hacks, okay? It's not just Bybit. These people have stolen billions of dollars throughout the course of their entire time on the internet, okay? Throughout their entire time going after various exchanges and groups around the world. And not only that, but basically what these guys have also been involved in is sneaking their way in to a lot of big companies in the United States and the rest of the world. So for instance, this one actual press release by the FBI has them talking about 2 North Korean nationals and 3 facilitators in the US indicted for a multi-year fraudulent remote information technology worker scheme. So it sounds like a lot of stuff here, but basically 2 North Korean nationals, Jin Song-il and Pak Jin-song, were apparently using falsified credentials to get access to US jobs. So, for instance, inside over here, what they basically say is the DPRK has dispatched thousands of skilled IT workers to live abroad, primarily in China and Russia, with the aim of deceiving US and other businesses worldwide into hiring them as freelance IT workers to generate revenue for the regime. DPRK IT worker schemes involve the use of pseudo-anonymous emails, social media, payment platforms, and online job site accounts, as false websites, proxy computers, writing and witting and unwitting third parties located in the US and elsewhere. So basically, these people will move to like Russia, China, and they'll use falsified passports to basically bypass these sanctions lists and apply for jobs, get in for massive IT work, and in some cases, individually earn up to $300,000 annually. Basically, these workers generate money for the regime back home. But remember, because they work in the field of IT and, again, furthermore, cybersecurity, having these people inside your company can not only have you giving them money, but they can probably leave some nasty malware behind and open up routes and doors to have constant, persistent access into your business. So, yeah, when you're hiring a North Korean state cyber hacker in your business, don't be surprised that down the road you might get blackmailed. In fact, the United States, the public service announcement came out this year where they actually said extortion of theft of company data, sensitive data. So after being discovered on company networks, North Korean IT workers have extorted victims by holding stolen proprietary data and code hostage until the companies meet ransom demands. Remember things like WannaCry with North Korea, one of the most elaborate schemes where they literally ran one of the largest ransomware basic operations to generate a shit ton of money while holding obvious code and businesses entirely hostage. So it's really, do you play along with the FBI until your business gets back up on track, or do you lose millions upon millions of dollars a day? No, you'll probably pay the ransom and just get back to work. So the more you go down here, North Korean IT workers have copied companies' repositories, such as their GitHub, especially their private stuff, user profiles, personal cloud accounts, and of course just large-scale theft of company code that they will then resell or use in North Korea. Now, I know that I've kind of got you into the weeds over here with North Korea's Lazarus Group, but I'm just here to bring you up to speed on how this group operates and why it's gotten so good at what it does, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, Bybit ended up having 1.5 billion US dollars worth of their crypto exchange basically drained out in Ethereum. And so the actual, heads behind it came and talked about this a little bit. Now, Ben Zhao had a live stream literally on the 21st talking about this whole situation. And this is where, again, it's an hour 45 minutes, but I'm going to play you what I believe to be basically the most important aspect of it in relation to a hack, and then we'll go from there.
Signer of this transaction. When this transaction came, it was a normal URL. I double checked. It was the safe URL from the official safe website. We always use the official website. So
to give you an idea of what Safe is, what he's referring to is safe.global, which was the third-party tool that was involved in basically assisting, I guess, the security of this chain, the smart accounts that were being used in order to assist these guys on their platform, using things like multi-signature wallets, which if you don't know what a multi-signature wallet is, the best way to describe it is something like a bank safety deposit box. Like when you go there, it's typically like a safety deposit box will have like two keys inside its ports. So one key is opened by the bank teller and one key is opened by you. You stick the keys in, put them in together, it opens the actual bank security deposit box, and then you can do whatever you want with it, right? So it's basically adding an extra layer of security. That's generally what's being mentioned here. Let's go back.
That was one of the safety protocols we deployed, is to check. So I checked on that, I click on the link and checked, and then I checked on the UI the destination address to make sure that it is our warm wallet. And we have a procedure to make sure that it is what we saw. So all of that checked out. And the initial transfer that we made was around, I believe, 30,000 ETH. It was not a full amount. So I saw the transaction. I'm the last signer. So I clicked on sign. And I use a ledger as a hardware device for the last signing part. Okay. So after I sign and I also check the ledger screen, one of the issues with, at least from my experience with the Ethereum related cold wallet transfer, is that it doesn't exactly shows the destination. It shows a lot of code. So it's not, so I checked the code, but I didn't check fully. If normally also the address, the destination address is not inside of that multi-sig signing. So I signed. After I signing, 30 minutes later, then we got the emergency call that our cold Ethereum wallet is drained.
So just to give you a quick dramatic representation of what that call sounded like, the guy dialed it up and he was like, "Are you fucking stupid?" So yeah, that's kind of roughly how this occurred. So I wish I could say that the North Koreans did some crazy Hollywood level hack where they breached into the network, sent some crazy persistence out. No, this was what appears to be some pretty elaborate phishing, right? And so when looking closer into it, so first thing first, he mentioned that he had a ledger, which for anybody that doesn't know what a ledger is, it's a crypto wallet that you can buy right now. It looks similar to this. There's actually multiple different products that they have. So for instance, this one right here is around $349. Then they get more and more expensive. Like you can get this ledger stacks for $559. And of course, if you want to get the cheapest option, a $114 Nano S Plus is here. Now, I have hardware wallets, and one thing that he is right about is obviously things are not super duper convenient in transacting. But ultimately, when you're transferring such a large amount of Ethereum, such a large amount of money, you probably, in a million years, should be very, very mindful about everything, right? Like whenever I send money in a wire transfer anywhere in the world, I usually check every single digit at least 100 times because I don't want my money going to something else and then it being a whole headache. With things like cryptocurrencies, once you send the money, you can't reverse it. And you might be like, well, Muda, why can't you reverse anything when it comes to cryptocurrency? And the thing is, normally you can if you have the majority of the processing power, but remember, cryptocurrency is decentralized. And because cryptocurrency is decentralized, once a transaction is effectively made, it just can't be reversed, okay? Because there's no central authority like a banking system where you can go in and reverse things or communicate with the other large banks and say there's something fraudulent, something bad occurred, freeze that money, reverse it, yada, yada, yada. With Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, once it's sent, it's sent. Now, thankfully, in the crypto space, surprisingly compared to almost any other business out there, there's a surprising amount of camaraderie in amongst nearly every exchange, where they all just come together and basically bail each other out, it seems. But so what they've done is, so what has Bybit done, okay? So basically, because of this, the money now is gone. They've effectively said, yeah, we're going to give you up to 10% of the stolen money if you can help us recover this money at this moment in time. So if you're somebody that wants to make 10% of $1.4 billion, so around 140 million USD, you can help them try to recover all of this money. And we're going to talk about why that's challenging just in a bit. One of the things that I wanted to cover too, as somebody that in this situation claims to have been responsible for a hack, something in regards to sphere phishing, some people have mentioned why they didn't just create a program where obviously, like many other companies in the world, if you detect any invulnerability in their network, they will pay you a bug bounty. And so I wanted to show you a bug bounty of a company like Apple, for instance, which obviously far more money, but clearly Bybit can also afford the funds and the finances I'm showing you here. So for instance, with Apple, if you can show them that you can bypass the lock screen, they can give you $5,000 to $100,000. But of course, if you show them how to, again, bypass the secure lockdown mode that they made, they'll just give you $2 million, okay, as an additional bonus on top of whatever else you may have discovered here, right? Like, for instance, if you show them I can attack a device via a user-installed application via the elevation of privileges, I can't speak today, $5,000 to $250,000, okay? So generally speaking, companies will offer big money for people to give them, information about vulnerabilities in their software. What does Bybit do? Bybit has bounties from, for instance, if you discover something low, they'll give you $50 to $200. Really? $50 to $200? Are you fucking serious? And then, of course, for medium bounties, $500 to $1,000, but critical vulnerabilities go from $2,500 to $4,000. Now, if you were somebody that breached in and had the ability to extract, let's just say $100 million, why the fuck would you go out of your way to get $4,000, okay? You might say, oh, Muda, it's the same thing for Apple, right? What if somebody could sell the exploit for millions of dollars somewhere else? Sure, but I would say the act of laundering that money, the act of basically avoiding every legal radar of Apple, law enforcement agencies on top of that is wild. But obviously, when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, most people would probably think, yeah, I'll take the risk of the feds and a already shoddy crypto market in terms of regulations in comparison to $4,000, okay? That's insanity. Somebody discovering critical vulnerabilities is basically given like a month of rent in Toronto. That's insanity. Fucking stupid. So basically, at the end of all this, Ben here, Benny Boy, fucked up. And it wasn't just Ben. I feel like people are putting a lot of the blame on just the CEO. Remember, a multi-sign wallet involves a whole bunch of people, which is where, as a cybersecurity person, I have to point my fingers at the internals of the company. Look, it's one thing for your grandmother or grandpa to get phished from somebody on the internet because they just don't understand technology. But you're telling me a bunch of people that run a crypto exchange, that have cryptocurrency, that know how to purchase cryptocurrency, which already has a barrier of entry, to be honest with you, and they already got like wallets, like ledger wallets. You're telling me these people aren't smart enough to not get phished? So effectively, North Korea got, either they're so good at phishing, okay, that they convinced every single person here to be dumb as shit and agree to something that they shouldn't have agreed to, or somebody involved here may have possibly goaded the team or possibly helped be the mole in the system that got the money moved to North Korea. And again, this is just speculation, but it's not speculation that comes out of nowhere, right? I really do think that there might be something malicious, maybe at the company level, and this goes for any company that's been hacked by North Korea. Again, I showed you that whole North Korea hiring operation because, again, for some of these people that are getting hired at companies with falsified credentials, it really makes me wonder if maybe there aren't moles that are planted within these companies that assist in the exfiltration of funds, right? There's a lot of things to consider, and honestly, it requires a really deep, thorough investigation of all of these services to really come out with how good North Korea has effectively gotten in basically stealing billions of dollars on a yearly basis. And it just keeps growing. 2023, they probably stole less than $1 billion. 2024 is when they crossed the billion mark. 2025, in the first 2 months, they've already crossed the billion threshold with an extra $500 million buffer to spare. It's insanity. And this makes it, by the way, the legitimate largest heist in history. Like, yeah, it's one of the biggest hacks. Even if you don't think the hack is impressive, just from a monetary perspective, I think the largest heist in history was the Central Bank of Iraq. And of course, this Bank of Iraq heist, was not really so much of a heist as it was, I have the power, let me walk in and basically grab money out. Basically, if you read up into it, like at some point on the 18th March 2003, a day before the US entered Baghdad as part of the invasion of Iraq, nearly $1 billion was stolen from the Bank of Iraq. That month, a handwritten note signed by Saddam Hussein surfaced ordering $920 million to be withdrawn and given to his son, Qusay Hussein. Bank officials state that Qusay and another unidentified man oversaw the cash. Boxes of $100 bills secured with stamped seals, known as security money, loaded into trucks during a 5-hour operation. So yeah, it wasn't so much somebody did some Ocean's 13 shit, it's just that they had the power, they went in, grabbed the money, moved off. And of course, later on, Qusay Hussein was killed by the US 101 Airborne Division in a battle. So according to a few military researchers, $650 million of that money was eventually found by coalition forces. However, $350 million was never actually seen or heard again. So pretty penny taken and moved away. But this isn't about Iraq, this is about, obviously, North Korea. So I guess the way to tie it off is, now that North Korea has access to apparently $1.5 billion of Ethereum, how does this money start to get moved off? What do we do about it, right? Well, the thing about the blockchain is, since it's so readily transparent, the big benefit is laundering it isn't as easy as one would think. So the way that actual laundering can work is you can use things like bridges, where you can basically send crypto from one blockchain to a bridge and then move it to another blockchain. And then you can then obfuscate between those blockchains because they definitely don't have like transaction histories that they share between each other. And of course, with other situations like mixing services, you can move your cryptocurrency into a mixer, which will basically pool your money with other users and redistribute them to effectively different addresses. So those are two of the ways money effectively gets like laundered. And for a while, it used to be pretty useful until eventually law enforcement started catching up to it. And there were plenty of other businesses and companies that started to get into it with machine learning to reverse some of this money laundering. But also with exchanges, a lot of these started to use KYC, which is before you put money in or money out, you gave them your identity. So generally with each crypto Bitcoin address, which used to be anonymous, it has now become a situation where everyone is effectively, or most people, at least in most first world countries, are identified KYC. That doesn't mean there's ways past it. Obviously you can use shady exchanges or whatever to get on. But yes, there are obviously ways to launder this money, and what has appeared to be the case is Ben has shown that apparently some of the money is being moved to places like Chainflip, as a bridge, by the way, like I just taught you, to convert to Bitcoin or BTC. And he provided this address, which obviously if you look at this address, they've got 12.5 BTC, which if I did just napkin math, if Bitcoin is valued around $95,000, you're looking at around, 1.2 million, a little bit over that, like a little over $1.2 million worth just going to this one Bitcoin address. So obviously, a very small percentage compared to the large billion, but nobody launders $1 billion, $1.5 billion in a day. It's going to take a while for it to eventually end up in usable currency by North Korea. And I guess one of the things we can end it off in is obviously this is not a situation where clearly, there aren't other parties involved, like safe.ethereum, which, was the website that they talked to. Even they said they found no evidence of their front end being compromised. So again, investigations are really going to be needed. But ultimately with North Korea taking all this money, the reality of it is that this money that North Korea has taken will be used for a pretty nefarious reason. Now, based on the United Nations, South Korea, and of course the United States, it's been rumored and basically talked about that these crypto scams and these crypto thefts are basically an important revenue source for Pyongyang's nuclear and ballistic missiles program. So while we're kind of sitting here kind of going, yeah, it's pretty wild that North Korea did a $1.5 billion heist, you have to remember that, yes, when it comes to cryptocurrency, North Korea loves it to the point where, yes, when this money is stolen, it is eventually ultimately funding, the elite lifestyles of people that are oppressing the, working class in North Korea, the literal slave class, if you will. And of course, in beyond all of it, they're using it to fund and finance weapons of mass destruction that are used to actually threaten global security. So forget about just the security of the United States, right? The security of countries like South Korea, security of countries like, for instance, Japan, who literally are in like actual attack range of North Korean missiles. For a lot of those people, anytime cryptocurrency gets stolen, it's just several extra pennies in the entire armament war chest that is used to further threaten the world. And again, the more nukes that a country like North Korea gets, you might be wondering, man, why don't we just rush in and stop these people, right? Well, it's because they have nukes, right? Like if they have nukes, you can send in soldiers right across the border and they'll just start firing nukes in Seoul, in Tokyo, and literally destroy the world as we speak. So because they have nuclear weapons, North Korea can effectively get away with hacking the entire world and stealing all of the nuclear weapons they want. And realistically, no one is going to jump in and stop them because it's almost impossible. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long video indeed. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.